Welcome back into Talking Fitchburg. Joined today from Call for Action. You may have seen these guys on your local TV station. We just saw Jackie here about a couple weeks ago in the Fitchburg Senior Center doing a presentation on consumer protection. I am joined by Jackie from Call to Action, or Call for Action. Let me make it that right. Call for Action.
Yes.
Jackie, thank you so much for being here. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. I appreciate you having me in.
I do too. I told you that I didn't get to be at the presentation. I got to edit your presentation, and I also shared with you that we talked consumer protection stuff on here with two entities you work closely with, Better Business Bureau and Department of A Trade Consumer Protection.
Yes.
The work that you guys have been doing and will continue to do is quite amazing. What is, first off, Call for Action for folks who are not familiar with the organization?
At our basics, we're a 62-year-old nonprofit organization. Call for Action is headquartered out of the Washington, D.C. area, and there are 12 offices scattered throughout the United States. Our mission is twofold: to educate people about consumer issues, and what we do for the most part is help consumers when they have issues. And those are wide-ranging. It can be something as simple as a refund from a grocery store, up through scams and frauds that they get involved with.
It's an all-volunteer organization, right? So
It is.
That is pretty impressive when we look at this need is great, and we'll talk about that. But for a volunteer organization, 62 years, and you told me that you're pretty full right now. I'm sure I was looking, but
Yeah.
pretty incredible stuff.
Yeah, yeah. And when I say we're an all-volunteer organization, everybody from the president down to the consumer advocates here in Madison and the other cities that answer the phone, we are all volunteers.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Incredible. Well, let's talk about some of the work itself. And I'm sure there's no surprise for you when it comes to consumer protection issues. But what can folks reach out to you on? Like, what would be some good examples of why to get in contact with you?
Yeah. Some of the areas that we see the most often are home improvement type issues, when someone hires a contractor and something doesn't go right. We see a lot in the auto repair. We do a lot in healthcare. People don't understand the bills, the explanations of benefits that they get, or things go to collection when they're not familiar with it. We do a lot in the area of consumer purchases. You buy something and it doesn't get to you, but you get charged for it. And where we get involved is when someone has some kind of a consumer problem, they're trying to resolve it on their own, and they're just hitting one roadblock after the next. They don't know where to turn. That's when we can step in and hopefully help. Sometimes it's very simple. Sometimes we have them resolve it, or we tell them who to talk to, how to talk to the people. Other times it's us that gets involved with actually making the phone calls and helping out to resolve the problems.
Consumer protection is a complicated, very complicated, and I'm sure the issues that you're dealing with are complex. Does it get to a point where you obviously help people and what you can, but when do you have to turn it over? Or is it times where you're like, hey, this is such a big issue, like we got to go bigger, or we're going to get our partners from DATCAP in, or FTC, or whatever. Like, how does that escalate, I guess, as you're working through some of these things? Because I'm sure some is you can make the contact, fix it, but then others, maybe you find out like, oh my gosh, this is huge.
Right, right. And we often will ask consumers to also, while we're working with them, also report to BBB or DATCAP, just because a lot of these more higher level things, that's how they get resolved, is by multiple people making complaints. One example happened to us of when we got a number of agencies involved, happened to us a couple of years ago. We had heard from a homeowner who hired a home improvement contractor to do some work. That call that we took, that person, the contractor, never came back. They couldn't get a hold of the contractor. As we were starting to look into that, we heard from another homeowner dealing with the same person. And very quickly this started escalating, where we had more than a handful of consumers So we contacted DATCAP at the time and said, hey, have you ever heard of this organization? They had. They were also starting to look into things. This was very large. This person scammed over 100 homeowners in 17 counties. DATCAP escalated to Department of Justice. The Department of Justice brought in the FBI because there was some money hiding. The contractor, his wife, and his business partner all are in prison at this point. They're supposed to pay the monies back, but if that will get done, when that will get done is an unknown, unfortunately.
That's incredible, and it's so important to know that there's another hand out there to help, because you get into some of these situations, as we've heard from BBB and DATCAP, where it becomes overwhelming, and maybe you're afraid, so for somebody who's out there dealing with something, and whether it's a romance scam, whether it is and you're afraid don't be afraid, right? You guys can answer some of those questions and kind of help move things along.
Yeah, don't be afraid and don't be embarrassed is the other thing. I should have known better. No, these are criminals. And, just like someone bumping into someone on the street and stealing their wallet, you're a victim.
Absolutely.
So, and take all the help, seek all the help that you can get.
So picking from your presentation you did the other day, what strikes you as common when you go out and do the presentation and are presenting to community groups just on general consumer protection? What are some of the questions that come in that are you're like, yep, I knew this was coming? Is there a theme out there that people are like, hey, what do you see the most of, or what do what's that look like?
Yeah, one question I get is, what are the big scams that are going on now? Those type of things. Also get a lot of personal experience. This happened to me, that happened to me, and sometimes it's, something I wish I would have known about a resource like you.
I think it's important work that you guys are doing, and I've read some of the stories, incredible stuff, and even what you shared with us today. If somebody is interested in helping out, becoming a volunteer with the organization, how can they do so? What experience do they need, or is it just whatever you can do to help? Yeah,
whatever you can do to help. We have volunteers. Most of them are retired people. They've got the time to volunteer, and our volunteers come from a whole range of backgrounds, which is great because we work very collaboratively. What have you seen and when you worked in the healthcare industry, for example? So a lot of different backgrounds. They don't have to have a consumer protection background or any particular background, just a sincere desire to help people out.
That's incredible. All right, if somebody is interested in getting help, let's walk down that path. What do people need to do to reach out? Where can they find you?
Two ways they can reach us. One is if they're tech savvy, can get on a computer if they go to Channel 3000, because we are sponsored by Channel 3. So go to Channel 3000 and then the call for action button. The first thing that pops up is a form for them to fill out and submit a case. Or they can call us. Our phone number is 608-270-2833. Now we have consumer advocates in the office on Tuesdays, on Wednesdays, and on Fridays, and the phones are open between the hours of 11 and 1. So that's a pretty short period of time. If you want to call and you can't call within those hours, you can leave a voicemail message, at least tell you a little bit about what your problem is, what your name is, what your phone number is, and we'll get back to the person. Even people that submit online, the first thing that happens is a conversation with one of the consumer advocates. After we get that case in, one of our advocates are assigned to the case, and they call and they talk to the consumer about what has happened to them, kind of time frame, who they've talked to or what they've done to try and resolve things, and then come up with a plan of action.
Finally, what's your message at the end of the day when it comes to consumer protection and making sure people stay safe, just in general? Because I assume, again, a lot of people have a lot of questions, but what do you leave? What's that final message you leave with people?
Slow down, take your time. You know, when you're making a purchase, especially anything you're doing online, you know, even in your home life, you know, think about links before you click on them or don't click on them. When your phone rings, we all have something now that tells us who's calling. Unless it is someone you know that you're expecting, don't answer that call. Let it go to voicemail.
That's so hard. So hard.
Yes, it is. I know that.
But on the flip side, when we have done some of those interviews, I'm like, why would you even answer the phone in this day and age? Like, it's become so difficult. But I like that. I like to stop and slow down and think, like, that is not easy in this world. We're moving so fast,
Absolutely.
and that's how it happens. So,
Absolutely.
well, Jackie, thank you so much for your time. I'd love to pick your brain on a lot of these things. But if you hadn't seen the presentation, it's on FACTv. You can check it out on our comm channel, where Jackie goes through some consumer protection stuff. Some great questions came in from the audience, but it gives you a good perspective of good ways to stay protected. And I see on the website, too, there's a lot of great resources there as well.
Yeah. Thank you very much for having me in.
I appreciate it. We'll hope to get you back here soon.
All right, we will. I'm available almost anytime.
Yes. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.